Today I am celebrating Albert Hofmann's Bicycle Day. Now, to many people, Albert Hofmann won't be a name that they are so familiar with. He was a scientist, he was a chemist, and he worked in a laboratory in, I believe it was Switzerland at the time, where he was experimenting with various substances, and one day got some of this substance on his hands, only to find out that he was the first person to experience a full-blown acid trip. It was LSD that he had been experimenting with, which was being taken from the ergot of rye, if I remember correctly, which is a bacteria that naturally forms on particular forms of grain, and through some kind of experimental mistake, he gets it on his hands and ends up having this full-blown psychedelic experience. He realizes something strange is going on. He leaves his laboratory on his bicycle, and it's on his way home that he has this full mystical experience. A mystical experience that is so profound that it captivates his interest, and he asks other people for their opinions, and it's from that moment that we then see this world of experimentation with psychedelia really taking off. Now, what was interesting about that is because for a very long time human beings have been using psychedelic substances, but from natural forms. It was in the form of mushrooms and peyote and ayahuasca and plants that have these psychoactive chemicals, whereas when Albert Hofmann had this experience with LSD, it was the first time someone in that very dry scientific world had to confront the fact that there was some profound mystical element to a chemical that had been synthesized in a laboratory. And of course, because it happened in that context, it meant that kind of mystical experience was opened up to the world of science, slowly at first, then very rapidly, until of course what was being experimented with in the wider public during the 1960s meant that, well, the authorities came down on all of that research, and it's only in recent years that that is now being opened up again. So Albert Hofmann had, whether he wanted to or not, a very profound effect on psychedelic research and on the relationship between science and mysticism. And it's a testimony to him that he never backed down from any of his assertions, although he didn't actually assert very much beyond saying, this was really interesting, this was the experience that I had, what does anybody else think? He didn't become dogmatic about or read excessive amounts into his experience, whilst at the same time not denying his own personal experience. It's so fascinating when people in the course of history find themselves at that fulcrum, at a fulcrum is that balance point, this very tight and specific moment that ends up having such an impact on time going forwards, on society moving forwards. So I have great appreciation for his humility and his somber approach to accepting his own experience, even if it was in great contrast to what the prevailing mindset was. And it's wonderful hearing him and being able to hear his voice from beyond the grave, see little clips of video of him talking on these subjects. He's definitely a character that has inspired me. So that's why today I am celebrating Albert Hofmann's Bicycle Day.